We've all been there, right? Stuck in a line, on a frustrating customer service call, or at a super slow restaurant thinking, there has to be a better way to do this. And you know what? You're absolutely right. Turns out every single business, from the corner store to a giant tech company, is really just a collection of processes. So let's dive into how understanding and fixing those processes is the real secret to solving pretty much any business problem you can think of.
So imagine you own a restaurant. The food's amazing, the staff is great, but you keep getting feedback like this. Ouch. You can literally feel the tension in the dining room as people start checking their watches. Your gut instinct? It's gotta be the chef, right? Or maybe the servers just aren't moving fast enough. But what if the problem isn't the people at all? That long wait time, it's not just a fluke. It's a symptom of something much, much deeper. It's a sign that the whole system, the whole recipe for how the restaurant runs, is fundamentally broken. And this, right here, is the absolute key to everything. If you really want to solve problems for good, you have to stop pointing fingers at people and start looking at the blueprint for how the work actually gets done. The problem isn't who, it's how. So, if the problem is the how in the world do we fix it? Well, there's this incredibly powerful framework designed for exactly this. It's called Business Process Management, or BPM for short. Think of it as a toolkit that lets you see the inner workings of your organization and turn all that chaos into clarity. At its core, BPM is just a systematic way to make your workflows better, faster, and way more adaptable. And here's why it's so powerful. It's not just about fixing what's broken today. It's about creating a cycle of constant improvement that can lead to some seriously cool innovations you never would have thought of otherwise. The very first step in BPM is where the magic really starts. You create something called a process architecture. Seriously, it's like getting an X-ray of your entire business. It shows you the hidden blueprint of how everything connects, and it reveals that all the things you do fall into one of three main buckets. And this table breaks it down perfectly using a university. You've got your core processes, that's the main event, the reason you exist, like teaching students. Then you have support processes, the essential crew working backstage, like IT and HR, making sure the main event can happen. And finally, you have management processes. Those are the directors, setting the strategy and making sure the whole ship is pointed in the right direction. Every organization has this DNA. You just have to know what to look for. Okay, so once we can see the blueprint, how do we actually start making repairs? I mean, seeing the problem is one thing, but fixing it is another. Luckily, it boils down to a really simple, practical, three-step fix. We can basically simplify the whole thing down to this easy-to-remember guide. Number 1, assign ownership. Number 2, map the flow. And number 3, measure and control. Let's just quickly walk through what each of those means. Step 1 is completely non-negotiable, and honestly, it's where most improvement efforts totally fall apart. Every single process has to have an owner, one person who is responsible and accountable for how it performs. Because if everyone is responsible, well, that really means no one is. And this just lays it all out. When you have a single process owner, you get clarity, you get authority, and you get accountability. That's how you get things done. But when you have this vague, shared responsibility, all you get is confusion, finger-pointing, and a process that is pretty much guaranteed to stay broken forever. Okay, next up, you have to map the flow. And this isn't about sitting in some conference room guessing how things work. No way. It means you gotta get out there, talk to the people actually doing the work, watch them in action, and create a visual map of how things flow from the very beginning to the very end. And finally, you make your improvements stick. This is where you basically give the process a brain. You build in control points, little checks and balances, and you develop measurements to see how it's performing in real time. This feedback loop is what keeps everything stable and on track for the long haul. So that brings up a huge question, right? What should we actually be measuring? There's that famous saying, you can't improve what you don't measure. And it is 100% true. Your measurements are the compass that tells you if you're actually making progress. And for business processes, it really comes down to 4 key things. These are the big 4. Time, how long does it take? Cost, how much does it cost us? Quality, how often do we mess up? And flexibility, how easily can we change things? Pretty much every single process problem you will ever face can be tackled by focusing on one or more of these 4 areas. So let's bring it back to our struggling restaurant. When we look at their problem through this lens, the answer is just staring us in the face. Yeah, cost and quality are always important, but the number one thing driving customers away was time.
The whole process, from taking the order to food hitting the table, was just taking way too long. That was the metric they had to attack first, no question. All right, now that we have the full framework, we know how to see the architecture, we have our 3 steps, and we know what to measure, let's really put it to the test. We're going to apply this whole thing to a completely different scenario just to see how powerful this approach really is.
So get this. Here's a travel agency in a total tailspin. They're losing their best clients left and right because of constant booking errors, terrible communication, and in one case, get this, a customer couldn't even get on a plane because their booking wasn't confirmed. The whole system is a mess.
So, I want you to think about this for a second. Look at our big 4 again: time, cost, quality, and flexibility. Based on these disastrous problems, where should this travel agency even begin to focus its energy?
If you're thinking quality, you absolutely nailed it. The root cause of their entire crisis is a massive lack of quality. All those errors, all that miscommunication. They have to fix the accuracy of their work above all else. And right behind that is time, making sure confirmations are fast and complaints are handled right away. That is how they start to rebuild trust.
And here's the most important takeaway. This way of thinking applies absolutely everywhere. Look around at your own job, or even your daily life. What's one frustrating, inefficient, or just plain broken process that drives you crazy? And now that you have the toolkit, what's the very first step you would take to start fixing it?